All right, all right. We are back at the podcast studios. We're in our Manasquan location today, and we have a Zoom podcast today, and we have a very special guest. We have Liz from PDR Interiors. Good morning, Liz. How are you?
I'm doing well, Tom. How are you?
Good. And let everybody know where you are. As I'm in New Jersey in the cold, where are you in the cold?
I am in Martin, Tennessee, West Tennessee, and it is
West
cold.
Tennessee, and it's still cold there too. So you guys don't usually see as much cold as we do, so you're not used to it. And recently it snowed in Atlanta and New Orleans and wherever else. So it's
It's
crazy.
wild. In Florida, like down in Destin, I've been seeing all these pictures, and I'm like, oh, wow, that has to be a shock to their system.
Yeah, they don't have the equipment, the plows, the snow shovels, the rock salt, or anything else.
No, and people go there to escape winter, and
Totally.
winter has chased them down.
What do you do next? I guess you just go to the Caribbean then.
Yes, so life's really hard.
Yeah, right. So let's get right into it. So you've been in business for 15 years. Quite an accomplishment. That is awesome.
Thank you.
What got you into the business?
I was always interested in interior design, decorating, organization, that type of stuff, just all through my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I was exposed to real estate at a really early age with my grandfather working in real estate. And so I think that kind of piqued the interest. And anyway, I graduated college. I was in a sales position for a countertop manufacturer, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And so I worked with a lot of designers, builders, and homeowners, and just knew I wanted to do more than just that small piece of home design.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went out and got a position with one of my design firm clients. And then the recession hit and the business was not doing well. She closed up shop and moved back out to the West Coast where she was originally from, the owner. And so I had a choice. Do I go and work for someone else or do I try to go out on my own?
Mm-hmm.
I tried the latter and here we are.
15 years later.
Almost 16 in April. It should be 16.
You know what's interesting is we started at the same time. I started April of 2009. It sounds like you did the same.
Yes, yeah.
And I remember the recession in 2008 when the Bear Stearns like was bankrupt, and I remember like that's right, like when I was like, oh, I'm gonna quit my job, and I quit my job right around that time and started to do my entrepreneurial journey. So kind of timing is very very coincidental to you and I on that, and it was a crazy time to start, but I guess now it kind of worked out for both of us.
Yeah, agreed. I think you're almost better off if you know a little, like, or you
Hmm.
don't know a whole lot, and then you can just kind of blindly go into it and feel your way
Totally.
through. And
Looking back, there's things that I did that I would be like, never do that again. Like, what was I freaking crazy? But at the same time, at the time, it was like, why wouldn't I do that? Like, of course I'm going to do that.
absolutely, I sometimes I stop and I think how much more risk averse I am now that I'm settled and comfortable and I'm established as opposed to where I was as a new entrepreneur and business owner.
It's very different. It's a very different, you're like, what was I thinking then? But at the time, you had to do it to survive. You had to do it to make your business work, to make your career work, to make it work for your family, everything like that. So it seemed normal at the time. And then you look back and you look at it, and go, that was a little nutty. So
Absolutely,
what
it's
have been
it's funny to look back now.
Yeah. So as you look back in time, what are some of the triumphs and wins that you've had, and what are some of the setbacks and the grit and the hustle and of things that maybe didn't go your way, but as you look at made changes and kind of pivoted and gone with it.
Well, yes, that is a very full question because a lot of thoughts come to mind. So, as far as some of the wins, I was able to carve out, I say niche market. I know some people say niche market. So, however
Hmm.
you choose to say it, I was able to find a specialty market and really target that. I focus on sorority housing and some fraternity housing. So, Greek houses on college campuses. And I feel
God, you
like
wouldn't
that's
have
a
wanted to go to mine.
Well, when I get done with them, people want to go to them. When I start with them, it's what you're saying, like, no. But yeah, so I mean, that was a huge win, right? Being able to find that niche market and really hone in on that and build relationships and build a customer base and
Hmm.
enjoy the work that I was doing or I
Sure.
am doing. That's a huge win. Some of my challenges along the way, I was 25 when I first started my business, and I could tell that some people were hesitant to trust someone so young. Like, are you going to be around very long? Or, oh, do you have enough life experience or
Hmm.
professional experience to know what you're doing? And so, I had to figure out how to overcome those hurdles and how to build trust
And
with
how did you build
customers.
trust? How did you figure out a way to do that being young in the business?
I really focused on getting to know my clients as people and then just find ways to connect with them. So if I found out that they had a certain hobby or interest, trying to talk to them about that, or if I had that shared interest, we could connect on that level and just finding different ways to make them feel important and let them know that I see them because, there's that old adage of people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And so if I could get to know them and they could like me, then that trust would naturally follow.
That's definitely a great way to go about it. And I'm sure that from that, you've gotten yourself a number of referrals to continue to keep elevating your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I did not, and to this day, I still don't really spend a lot of money on advertising. I tend to put my time and money into networking.
Hmm.
So, I'll go to a networking lunch or have coffee with someone and just really try to build a relationship. That's the crux of how I've gotten this far. And it's something I think is really important in life is to pour into relationships personally and professionally. And so that's what I focus on.
Nice. And networking, are you involved in like actual networking groups or just network like chambers of commerce, business networkings? Like where have you found your niche there?
In the early days, I did a number of organizations. So I was in BNI, which is a national
Yep, sure.
networking organization. I did a chapter for a long time, and I even acted as what they called at the time an assistant director. And I would go around and train other chapters on how to
Oh,
do
wow.
things. And that really helped build my network. And I did some other like local women's organizations,
Hmm.
networking, things like that. And I would get on committees and I would hold positions on the board. And that really helped me since then, since like my clientele base is more of a national focus and not so hyper local, I focus on more like national networking, like the Interior Design Society. There's some other organizations that I do. So it's changed a little bit, but
Hmm.
the same like concept is still
And now
there.
just the national versus local. So you started out very local, probably as you got going. Now and how have you felt that the national presence has helped you?
I think in terms of the networking side of it,
Well, the networking and then how that related to business.
yeah, well, it's one of those things. Again, starting out as a young entrepreneur, I never could have imagined that my business would have a national presence. It always felt like, oh, it's just kind of whatever's right in front of you. And so it's really neat to look and see that my team has done over 100, or worked on over 100 campuses across like 25 states. So we've done hundreds of houses on different campuses, and we have built a great network of vendors and clients in these different areas. And, and now in the day and age of Zoom and all these virtual meetings, it seems like, oh, that's so easy to do. But back when I started all of this and have been building it over the years, it was very different. And
Yeah,
so it was
it
hard to
wasn't the
know how it
same.
would take shape.
You almost benefited from COVID because Zoom became more popular, more people who started to use it, and then now it's more of the norm than you go back 5 years ago. You probably did a lot more travel.
Yeah, yeah. We still travel some, but those like client meetings in between, Zoom has been a lifesaver.
Yep.
Even the simple tool of being able to like record a video like
Yep.
on Loom or within PowerPoint. And so I can speak to my client just like this, just like I
Hmm.
would in a presentation, but they can watch it on their own time and then, get back to me with feedback on the designs and so on. My team was always remote even before COVID. So in that regard, I felt like we had an easier pivot
Hmm.
post pandemic because I know a lot of companies weren't that way and they're still trying to feel their way around remote work versus in office.
5 years later, they're still trying to figure it all out.
Yeah. It's like
Yep.
every day I open social and there's some kind of article about return to the office and, all the hubbub around that.
Yep. It's crazy. I think every business is unique in how they operate, and it's hard to go from 5 days a week at home back to the office, and I think the hybrid's probably going to be here to stay, and there's a good balance for everybody.
I agree. I know personally, if I worked in an office surrounded by other people, I would get so distracted with just the chatter and the social and the different
Yep.
things. And working at home by myself most of the time, I feel like I'm so much more efficient and effective at what I'm doing.
I think it's the person.
Yes.
I don't think it has to do with work from home or work in the office. I think it has to do with the person's work ethic. If you have a good work ethic, you can work anywhere. It's when it's the people that don't have the great work ethic and they ruin it for everybody else.
Yeah. Bad
They're the
apple
reason
spoils
of
the
the
bunch.
return to work mandate. Like it's not the work from home mandate. It's not the in person mandate. It's the fact of the people that aren't doing the right thing for their companies.
Yeah, you are so right. I'll clean it up for this, but I tell my team just get your stuff done, and I don't care.
You're
And my
allowed to curse
team,
on the podcast though too, just so you know.
but my team, they're all like under the age of 30 or like right at 30, and they've been
Yep.
working with me for a long time, and so
Sure.
I think that says a lot about it. It doesn't matter how old you are, like you said, it's about the person, their work ethic, and like what kind of systems they set up in place, and they can get their stuff done wherever they are.
Yeah, and if you work in an office and it's loud, you got to bring, you got to deal with, you bring your headphones in. If you work from home, the laundry and doing all the stuff at your house isn't part of the day. So, like, if it has to do with the person. Like, if you, I can't say it any other way. I worked from home for the first 6 or 7 years I had the business. I was working from home, and then once two people were at my dining room table, my wife was like, I think it's time for you guys to go get an office.
Huh?
It's weird that people are sitting at the dining room table when I want to cook dinner. That's when I got an office, and I'm a 5 day a week in the office. So to me it is what it is. But from my time at home, I think it was fine. But again, I worked while I was home. I wasn't cutting the lawn. I remember one of my neighbors when I lived in my previous residence. The guy was cutting his lawn every Thursday. He was by the pool on Friday afternoons, and then when he got laid off, he was kind of shocked, and I was like, really? But here we are. So I hope he doesn't listen to this one today.
Right, right. You just called him out. It's
He
funny
might not.
you say
He
that
might not want
though.
to be my friend anymore.
I've talked to like two or three other people like within the last week that we've talked about how like their environment affects like their focus on work, and they feel like, oh, I've got to do the dishes, or oh, I've got to do the laundry. I used to feel that way too, and I kind of had to work on that mindset of no, those things can wait until outside business hours, or if I go to the kitchen for lunch, I can deal with the dishes then. It doesn't all have to get done before I
Totally.
start working.
Totally. But again, even during the pandemic when we were working from home, I got up every morning and I showered like I was
Yep.
going into the office. I put on I didn't wear a dress shirt, but I wore a polo shirt just so that it wasn't like working in my PJs. So again,
Yes.
I think it's about the habits you make for that. But that's good that you were able to do it and that you have a remote crew and everybody gets their shit done.
Yep.
I
Yep.
said it for you.
Thank you.
What is like the most useful advice you could give to an aspiring entrepreneur as you decided at 25 years old that you wanted to try something different? You said that your friend's business was going away. You had you had a choice: go get another job or go out on your own. So you went out on your own, took a leap of faith. I'm sure where there was some nervous days and weeks and months maybe, but 15 years later, what do you say to that next 25-year-old coming and looking to make a decision about entrepreneurship or going to the corporate world or going to?
I say go for it. I think there's so much benefit in being able to, I'm going to use the word control your own destiny to an extent, right? Like everyone says, oh, your schedule is whatever. Well, when you own your business, like your schedule is not really your own, but you have to figure out how to make it your own. But
You traded 40 hours for 70 hours.
yeah, so you may get to be laying by the pool, but you may also be answering an email on your phone or answering a quick phone call. And so, like, what's
Sure.
that trade off? But no, I think you really have to think about, and this can be hard in your youth, what do you want your life to look like? And you get to shape so much more of that as an entrepreneur and as a business owner. And create your business to suit your life rather than vice versa, where you feel like you're shackled to a job and a desk and the 40-hour a week kind of thing. And so I just say go for it. Like, figure out what you want and then just try for it. Just like you and I said, like, you may be making some kind of crazy choices and leaps of faith, but they usually will pay off.
If you could go back in time, would you have done it the same way, or would you have done it differently?
No, I would have done it the same way.
Perfect. That's
Yeah.
great. I love to hear those stories because those are the people that are true entrepreneurs, that really wanted to really get in their own business and do it. And as you continue to grow, where do you see the business going? I mean, so you're 15 years in. It sounds like you have a successful company. It sounds like you've done a lot of great work, been in 25 states, 100 schools, etc. What's the next phase of the evolution?
I love this question. So right now I'm focusing on like product lines, collaborations, partnerships, things like that, and then also doing some dabbling in residential new construction. And all of these things are really like lighting me up creatively and getting me excited and giving me new ways to think about my business and ways that we can pivot and kind of have new revenue streams and so on.
Cool. And now are you looking to expand the team as you bring on some of these product lines, that you'll have like product managers in some of these so that you can continue to grow and not lose the main business, lose focus on the main business?
Yeah, that remains to be seen. I think there's some ways to do it with the team in place that I have, and then there are some ways to expand. And I think we'll just I'm kind of a slow grower and see how it goes and then adapt from there. And so I have a couple different paths we could go depending on how things take shape.
Awesome. That sounds great. So it sounds like you got a lot of good things going on. Sounds like you have it figured out in your world. So as we wrap up this podcast, hey, let people know where they can find you online if they're in the market for your type services.
Yes, absolutely. So you can go to our website, which is pdr-interiors.com. And then we are on Instagram and TikTok, PDR Interiors. And I said most of our business is Greek work, but we also do residential work and post design tips. And so I would love for you to connect with us online.
That's awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time today to get on this podcast, and I'll let you get back to your cold Tennessee weather. But it was a pleasure to have you.
Yes, thanks so much. I enjoyed the conversation, Tom.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.